This podcast is brought to you by Bodog.net.
Don't miss a chance to play at Bodog.net. When the odds are stacked against you, post-game tastes that much sweeter. Bodog.net, your source of free casino games, poker strategies, and live sports odds.
Ottawa, let's spend some time in the box on TSN 1200, recapping yesterday and giving you a head start on today.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and it's over. The final, Boston 9 and Seattle 4.
In the box.
And the pitch is popped up into shallow left center, and it drops. Wade scores, and here comes Torres. He scores on a little bloop single by Gardner to left center.
TSN 1200.
1-2. Bichette drives it. Deep left field. That ball's going to go. A three-run homer for Bo Bichette.
Now, alongside Steve Bunda, here's Steve Lloyd.
And Steve Walls. Might as well, right? Kenny Walls producing. Welcome to it. In the box on TSN 1200. As usual, take it to 2 this afternoon and hand it over to Lee Creature and Matty Vowles on the drive. But we got a busy show lined up for you. 4 interviews coming your way between now and 2 o'clock. And you know to reach us at 1200. Your standard text message rates do apply. I'll tee that up for you in just a moment, but I want to dive right in, shall we? Let's get to it here. Let's see how Bunda's beard is doing this morning. Stevie, what's going on?
You know, not a lot, Lloydie. I'm just, I've got my birthday hat on. I've got a couple streamers. I'm ready to celebrate a new contract. I'm feeling good today. Not for myself, but for probably number 7, Brady Tkachuk.
Is that your call?
No, I mean.
You're calling it?
We talked about it yesterday, and then last night, we'll get more to it later today, seeing the news from Gord Miller. It's like, okay, maybe there is some, I guess, sense to this. I don't know. There was a lot of messages coming in on the text the last couple days. There were, I guess, tweets about it, but it's like, you guys are idiots. Like, if you don't think he's going to sign, he's going to sign on his birthday, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, then the news came out last night. It's like, okay. And then, you know, just hearing Simmer's news and talking to Simmer before the show, and he's just like, yeah, I think it's going to happen. So
Okay.
I give it a 71% chance of happening.
Today.
Yep.
71%. Okay, we'll hold you to it, Bunda.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
all right. All
But
good.
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Oh, top drawer, upper deck, except for I feel like crap, you know. Went and played hockey for the first time in 18 months last night.
How's your back?
Stupid me. I've rejoined my league. Didn't play last year for obvious reasons, and the rule is everybody's vaccinated in this league. So I said, okay, you know what? I'd love to get back and play, so I'm doing it, and I'm glad I did it. But it was a tough first night because I'm not a smart man. I think people that have listened to me for years would know that I'm not a very bright guy. So
Flip that, Kenny.
I got an email. Got an email from our good friend here, Tony, that runs my team, and said, "Hey, the other time, because it's only a 4-team league, so it was 2 time slots, right?" And they said the 8 o'clock guys, they're short. Anybody want to volunteer to spare ahead of our game? Oh yeah,
you doubled up.
So I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's play 2 games for the first time in a very long time. And it was all right, but I woke up this morning and a little creaky. But so I think we'll get through it, though. I think I'm okay.
Lower back a bit sore?
General body soreness.
Oh, I was going to.
GBS.
Crossbody? Crossbody injuries.
Everything.
See, that's the thing, right? You've been cooped up in the house for a better part of almost 2 years now, like a solid over a year and a half, and now you're sitting there and you're like, anything, I'll get out. Yeah, I'll go. You want groceries? I'll do it. You know, you want me to take the kids for a walk? Okay, I'll do it. Like, you want a hockey game? I'm in.
Yeah, like I'm not going to lie. Now that, and we'll see how things are going here in the fall with the Delta and all that, and touch wood, but the worst part about not coming in to see you guys, you know, at work, was when everything was closed. It was like that was kind of the life raft to do something, right? Oh, I can go to work at least. Nope. still doing it from home. But now that things are open, it's not as bad. There's a lot of people that work out of the office on a regular basis pre-pandemic. It's not a new thing that way. But, when it was locked down, that's when it makes it tough. But now it's, back playing a little hockey. And It was a week one, and, maybe I shouldn't have been eager to volunteer to help out and spare. I'm just going to say that. Okay. One would have been enough last night. One game, not two.
Did you, other than your epic blunder golf game when you and Ian Mendez failed to beat Lee and your former co-host when they were paired together, have you golfed much this year? Like is in terms of activity and getting out and doing things, how's your activity level been anyways?
I haven't, I think I've got out about 10 times, but I haven't played in about 3 weeks. So I got to get out a couple more times here before the snow flies. So I've got to get back at it here.
Fair enough.
But it's all good. It's all good. Kind of, getting back into the routine of things here. But this morning's been tough after a poor decision on my part to go too much too soon, Bunda. The one game would have been enough last night. Now, I hesitate to ask the question to our learned colleague, our producer, Kenneth Scott Walls. 3 nights in a row, Kenny? Or did we get some sleep last night?
I got some sleep all the way through the night. It was wonderful. Woke up, but even got to sleep in a little bit today. Alarm went off at 7:15.
All right.
Second or third alarm. It was wonderful. I still don't. You're still dumb for playing 2 games. That doesn't change that fact. Yeah.
It's pretty dumb.
Yeah.
I told you. As Forrest said, I'm not a smart man.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Okay. Well, Kenny's been busy, though, helping us with her guest today. Why don't we tee up the show that way? So we announced this yesterday, and this will be fun. He's always a fun interview. Cedric Andre is going to join us coming up at 11. He signed in the East Coast Hockey League yesterday with the South Carolina Stingrays, located in North Charleston, South Carolina, which is just north of Charleston, which is on the ocean there. It's a nice little spot. It's near Kauai Island, where they had the U.S. Open this year. So as said, he's going to join us at 11. And we just lined this up within the last hour because the 67s, we could see this coming. James Boyd pretty much told us as much when we had him on, 3 weeks ago, Kenny, that this would likely be the course they'd be going down. And they've done it. They've traded their former first-round pick, Nicholas Moldenhauer, to the Sarnia Sting for 1 draft pick, definitely, and they get the compensatory first-round pick from the OHL. And if Moldenhauer were to play in the Ontario Hockey League, because he's gone to the United States Hockey League, it's a bevy of picks. It's one of those OHL or major junior hockey trades where the conditions are attached. It's like, wow. That's a lot of draft picks. So James Boyd, GM of the Ottawa 67s, is going to join us at noon. We'll talk about that. Sens rookie camp continues. Dean Brown is going to stop by on this Thursday at 1. And Thursday night football, Bunda, means it's Brent Sobleski joining us from Bleacher Report to tee up week 2 of the NFL season. Giants Washington football team do it for you tonight. We'll have it on TSN 1200. You dialed in for that?
Yeah, I'm dialed in for football. I actually like a lot of what's on the Washington football team. And very unfortunate to see my man Fitzmagic go down in the first game. But Tyler Heinicke is just such an exciting guy to watch, and I like Antonio Gibson. I like their defense. The Giants are kind of a tire fire. I don't know what to make of them, but it's football, Lloydie. I'm in. I'm down.
All right, so both teams lost week 1. We'll have it for you on TSN 1200 tonight. Giants at Washington, and Heinicke had that coming out party in the playoffs last season where nobody really knew who the heck he was.
Almost beat my damn Bucks. I was worried. It was
nobody. Who is this guy?
It was the
diving into the end zone.
Toughest test of the playoffs, pretty much, for the Bucks. So I was a little rattled.
It's like Keanu Reeves and the replacements. Like what's going on here? So that's tonight, Thursday night football. We'll have it for you on TSN 1200 here. All right. I know they spent a lot of time on it this morning. We will as well. It feels like the watch is intensified, right, on Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators. Are they close to a deal? So Gord Miller kind of got everybody's attention yesterday afternoon when he was a guest on our brother station in Montreal, TSN 690. And Kenny, we'll play the longer version here. A little more context. So the questions just generally, just towards the end of Gord's hit with Mitch Melnick, the question is about the RFAs in general. Like we're talking about Pettersson and Hughes and Kaprizov and Thomas and, of course, Brady Tkachuk and Dahlin and Buffalo, right? Here we are. We're a week out from camp starting, and all those players need contracts still. So that was kind of the jumping off point. And Gord gives an answer, and then in the middle of it kind of drops a bit of a Brady bomb. So here's what it sounded like.
Gord, we're a week away from NHL training camps and a bunch of RFAs still unsigned. What do you think happens with Dahlin, Tkachuk, Hughes, Pettersson, Kaprizov, just to name a few?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think the real pressure point comes near the end of there's several sort of trigger points. One is the opening of training camp. 2 is the end of training camp, and then 3, of course, is that December 1st deadline, where if you're not signed, you can't play in the league that year. So I don't think you're probably not too worried about it yet. I think once training camp kind of moves along and a player's not in camp at all, and of course we have abbreviated training camp now, I think then it becomes more of a concern. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. Like Quinn Hughes in Vancouver is going to be in a really interesting case, and Pettersson. I think Tkachuk will get done in Ottawa here pretty quickly. I think they're from what I understand, they're getting close to getting something done there. So
long as reported, or shorter, perhaps.
I think it's a long deal. Yeah.
Okay.
But the question, part of the thing is too is the players used to always want the money up front, right? And all-in signing bonus up front. They don't want that now because of the heavy escrow the players are paying the next couple of years. So now the players want it structured so it's kind of light in the first part, heavy in the back part.
And Gord's bang on there. Look at the Batherson contract from last week with, I guess 2 Fridays ago now, right? That 6-year deal. Year 1, the cash is quite low in relation to the rest of the deal. It's like, about 2.5 or so for year 1 of that deal. So you're seeing a lot of that for the reasons that Gord Miller just outlined. So that is interesting. And the way he kind of dropped it, Gord Miller, part of his gig isn't to find the scoops all the time, right? That's really not his priority of what he does for TSN. And for him to kind of just casually drop that in there, I think it adds more credence because it's not like he's looking for hits on that comment. It's just, by the way, as we're having this conversation about RFAs, I think Brady's getting done soon. Anyways, he was just going to move right along, smile and wave, and then obviously stop. Whoa, long? Yeah, I think long, and then continues with the thought. So I think that's why, he certainly got my attention, got everybody's attention, a lot of Sens fans. The radar is on full alert right now, waiting to see how close are the Sens and Brady Tkachuk to finalizing a contract. And I can tell you this, I can add to this, I know that the owner is on his way to Ottawa. And that's going to happen within, it could be later today or by tomorrow. He's coming to Ottawa. Read into that what you will, okay? It could be nothing, He comes to Ottawa a lot.
Are we going to have like a camera kind of like when
for what happened?
The Leafs brought in Babs that one year? It's we can confirm the flight is here and what's going on?
I know he's coming to town here in the very near future. And like I said, could mean absolutely nothing, but I know that is happening here. So we'll see. Because wouldn't a photo op be very good, with the owner, with Brady, with a captaincy on the sweater, signing a long-term contract? Wouldn't that be good PR for the club as they started selling tickets yesterday with the hope of full capacity in the rink, right? So we'll see what happens over the next few days here. But the Gord Miller comment that we just played certainly got everybody's attention. And Bunda led the show with it, right? I just said, hey, Bunda, how you doing? Yada, yada, yada. 71% is what Bunda said for today.
Yeah, and
he's giving it a...
Sorry, for Don and Kanata, who normally texts in right at the beginning of the show, we're not even usually on the air yet. It's like right as the intro's playing. He just says, hey, guys, have a good show. Any update on Tkachuk? It's happening today, Don. It is. I've told you. 71% chance.
There it is. It's done. Okay, so we'll thread that throughout the show, and if we hear anything, of course, we'll pass it on to you, the good listener here on In the Box on TSN 1200. Zane, the window cleaner, we can answer this question for you, Zane. Will you guys be broadcasting for practices or training camp this year? I miss the in-the-rink feel of the show. Zane, I think that's a TBD. We've had some discussions about that, but it's a TBD. I can tell you this, Dean and Gord will have the call this Saturday from the rink for the rookie game with the Habs and the Sens, and that's at 4 o'clock coming up on Saturday afternoon. So we do have that. Beyond that, Zane, I can tell you this, that's the plan, but we'll see what we're at the mercy of something bigger than we just want to do it, as we all know. So, hey, Zane, I'm as hopeful as the next guy. I'm a little eager, Zane, to get back to doing things like that.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you posted.
He wants to hear the pucks hitting the glass, the guys yelling and screaming in the background, maybe DJs, chewing his gum extra hard so you could hear that sound effect in the background and chewing out the fellas because they messed up a drill, or a couple of the boys
having to talk quietly all of a sudden because they're doing the whiteboard right in front of us, and actually when it gets that quiet, the players start looking up at me because I'm talking. Sorry, the fun stuff, Bunda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted on that front as well. All right. Let's take a break. Come back. We'll get to more of your text messages at 1200. Busy show. Cedric Andres at 11. James Boyd's coming up at noon. Dean Brown at 1. And Brent Sobleski from Bleacher Report talks some NFL. The start of Week 2 is tonight. We'll get to that at 1:30. Thursday Night Football on TSN 1200 at 8 tonight, 8:20 for the official kickoff. It is the Washington football team playing host to the New York Football Giants. Back in a moment on In the Box on TSN 1200.
This podcast is brought to you by Bodog.net.
Don't miss a chance to play at Bodog.net. When the odds are stacked against you, post-game tastes that much sweeter. Bodog.net, your source of free casino games, poker strategies, and live sports odds.
Now, various things have been rumored and thrown out there over the last little while. I know that Elliot Friedman about a week and a half ago threw it out there that the Sens had... He heard that they had offered the 8x8 with the Chabot is under contract for with the Sens right now. So that's kind of the jumping off point for the Tool and Equipment Store web poll question of the day. Hit our website at tsn1200.ca. Now that it would appear we're getting close to the finish line on a Brady Tkachuk extension, and we'll see what that looks like. The question is, does Brady Tkachuk deserve to make more than Thomas Chabot? 54.7% of you say yes. No's at 45.3%. So keep those votes coming. Pretty close. I know JR likes to say when it's fairly close, he's very proud of himself. It's a good web poll question. It's not a landslide in either way. So yes at 54.7, no at 45.3. Bunda, what say you?
Negative Nancy says no, I guess. I voted no. I don't want to make it as a comparable and whatnot, but Thomas Chabot is one of the more valuable players on this team, right? If he's out of the lineup, there's a large difference in terms of being able to move the puck out of your own zone now. And I know they've made some acquisitions since then, and I believe Brady Tkachuk is absolutely worth every 8x8, and I think that'd be a great deal for a guy like him. I just don't want to get carried away in terms of maybe overpaying for a guy like him. So I think 8x8 is good. Does he deserve more? I say no.
I think that's a good way to put it, in that it's not a direct comparison of value to the team that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like every web poll question, we try to make these things as succinct as possible, lock it down, but you're going to come at it with your own little caveats in your mind. But if you looked at it strictly from like who played, Thomas Chabot will be on the ice a heck of a lot more than Brady Tkachuk. Thomas Chabot he's got a chance to be on the Canadian Olympic team. He's going to have a really good start to the season, I think, to be able to really cement himself into that consideration that way. And Brady Tkachuk, as we know, he's that kind of heartbeat player. DJ Smith said drags everybody into the fight, and he's not wrong. And I think we're past the point where maybe criticism's too strong of a word, but I don't know if Brady ever got enough credit for it. He's a pretty skilled guy as well. Just because he plays with that nasty, when you start talking about that element of his game too much, then you tend to overlook that, no, he is, air quotes, a good hockey player as well. He's got good vision, good passer. He's got a good stick. His skating, I think, is a little underrated as well. So when you factor all these things in, when you're talking about comparing dollar for dollar with Thomas Chabot, I think we all know it's the same ballpark, right? If it's a little bit less, if it's a little bit more, it's the same area code for whatever this contract's going to look like. Now that's if it's 8, right? Because if it's not 8, then the AAV, you have to factor that in, will be a little bit different. So we'll see. Sounds like we're getting closer to the finish line on that, that's the best news of all. Get this done well ahead of camp. Still got time for that. Camp opens in next week, middle of next week. 6-7 days from now? Medicals on ice differs, right? So the fact that it seems to be wrapping up here, that's the best news of all. Now we'll just speculate. We wonder what that looks like. What kind of a term are we talking about? Is it 8? Is it 6? Is bridge still a possibility, like a 3? We'll see. Keep those votes coming, though, on our website at tsn1200.ca. That is the Tool and Equipment Store web poll question of the day. Just stumbled across something else that floated through my timeline, and we spent some time on this earlier this week, Bunda, in speaking the start of camp next week. Just wondering, with some of the news that's come out in and around the league with some assistant coaches like Rocky Thompson in San Jose and Sylvain Lefebvre in Columbus, what will that mean for players that don't want to get vaccinated and just it's their choice to not be vaccinated? How is that going to play out for the start of camps next week? How will each team handle that? How will the league handle that? Well, NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly saying this morning that only 15 or fewer players will be unvaccinated by the start of the season. Out of the entire league, 15 or fewer players will be unvaccinated by the start of the season. So I'm not surprised that it's going to be a very low number, but I am expecting, as the way I put it earlier in the week, Steve, I just called you Steve. That was weird, right?
Yeah,
Bunda,
weird.
as I put it earlier in the week, I'm just curious to see how many players will be somewhat conspicuous by their absence at the start of training camps.
Yeah,
because of this.
Do you not want to see the names and who they are and kind of, I don't want to say slot them in terms of superstar, average, fringe, AHL, whatever it is. I am very much curious to see who it is and where they're located. And I don't need to hear why, because you know what, if you don't want to get it, I'm not here to make sure everyone gets the vaccine or not, but obviously it's going to have a very big consequence in you being able to play or not, right? Like it's either if you want to play, get the vaccine. If not, well, then you're not going to play kind of thing. That's where I sit. But I just do want to hear who it is kind of thing and, where they are. Because as we've discussed, if it's, said superstar,
yeah.
And you can't even, I don't even want to throw out names, but just if it's a superstar, that's going to gain lots of traction and be very noticeable for the league. And what you're doing to get this guy to either get on board with it, or are they going to work around the rules for it? Are they going to figure, like I said, we brought up yesterday, the NBA elected to not force the vaccine. So, and a lot of that goes to, which superstars in that league are not.
Well, and the vaccination rate is much lower amongst NBA players on a percentage basis than it is NHL players. So really the league had no choice.
Exactly. And it's not in the NFL either, right? We're seeing players that are unvaccinated in the NFL. So, and they're dealing with a lot when they are unvaccinated. And if you're a fringe player, like we've already seen, Cam Newton, not on a roster. Should he be? Probably. He's better than a lot of these backup quarterbacks out there. And he should be on a roster, but you know what? Maybe it's attitude. Maybe it's, he's fallen off a cliff play style wise, but his vaccination status absolutely had to deal with him being cut. And that's just the way it works out. If you're not going to steal a job and be a world beater out there, you're not going to have one. And so now when it gets to the NHL and them doing this, like I said, Lloydie, I am curious to see the names and where they would be and like who they are, because like I said, if it's a superstar, it changes the whole conversation quickly.
All right, a little more detail to this. Frank Saravelli's reporting. This is part of the NHL Player Media Tour, which is still taking place in Chicago. This is where Bill Daly has been speaking, so there's going to be more details coming out here, not only on that, but just generally speaking, is Bill Daly's making himself available to the media this morning. Says the league is projecting 98% of players will be vaccinated prior to the start of the season, and their expectation is 10 to 15 total players will be unvaccinated, and they'll be subject to more stringent protocols. So, and we saw some of that laid out, and the NHL will be coming out with a definitive hard and fast policy, and it's already there, really, but I'm sure that that's going to be reiterated here as we get closer and closer to the start of the season, and certainly training camp. So if a player is unvaccinated, it doesn't sound like they're going to be told that they can't play, but they're probably going to be, it's going to be bubble hockey for those players, right? We're on the road. You have to stay in your hotel room. You can't go anywhere. It's room service. It's just going to be going back to what everybody had to do to play during that bubble season when they resumed play and had the playoffs in Edmonton and Toronto. So that'll be tough. Now, if that would be a commitment for those players that truly do not want to be vaccinated. It's like, okay, yeah, this is what it means to me to not be vaccinated. Then I'm willing to do this. Okay, well, that's in place. But to the point we brought up earlier in the week here, it still backs it up. It's obviously it's going to matter who these players are and how important they are to the success of each team. It's going to be pretty easy if you're a depth player, a replaceable player for the most part. You're basically putting your job on the line to play in the NHL. Like, you better be a pretty cemented player in the league that you know that you can do this and not fear just being waived and cut during training camp or towards the end of camp before the regular season. Because, we talk about this from the NFL's perspective for so many reasons. Like, that is more so than all the other leagues, Bund. I've always felt this way at the NFL. They're the no distraction league. Don't give me a reason for you to be a distraction. It's a non-guaranteed contract league, which makes it easier.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, if you're going to be a distraction in any way, for any reason, from what we're trying to do as a team here to win games, then you better be pretty darn important to the whole process here, or we're just going to move on from you.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, right? You're not going to see, said hockey player cut from a team because of his vaccination status, because you don't just become a free agent, right? Like, they're on a guaranteed deal, most likely, especially unless you're, like a tryout player, I guess you could bring up. Like, these guys, usually if you don't make the team, you go down to the AHL. If you don't make that, you go to the ECHL. Either way, you're in the organization, right? Or you go back to junior or wherever you go. So like you said, it's going to be the guys that do not show up, the non-show-ups, or, if there's going to be certain players, and maybe we don't hear the names of who they are, Lloydie, but it is completely different when you look at, the leagues such as the NFL, who's non-guaranteed contracts, who, like Cam Newton, yeah, you're signed here for a one-year deal. We gave you some guaranteed money. Well, we'll cut you because whatever, that guaranteed money isn't that much for us. It's completely different than the NHL in terms of contract statuses and all that.
All right, so that just if you're just tuning in, the reason why we're touching on this, Bill Daly is speaking this morning to the media, and he's projecting 98% of players will be vaccinated, and league-wide, only 10 to 15 will not be, and they will be subject to the more stringent protocols, which pretty much be bubble hockey, what we saw couple seasons ago, right? Yeah, 2 seasons, right? Technically, yeah, 2 seasons ago. Okay.
Well, it was bubble hockey this year too, pretty much.
Yeah, but really it was,
especially in Canada, I guess.
Yeah, but at least you're in your own rinks and what have you. So yeah, more. But you're right, more similar to what we saw last season before the vaccines became more readily available here. All right, Thursday night football coming up on TSN 1200 tonight. We'll spend some time on that. Brent Sobleski is going to help us out later on here. We just glossed over it here, but is there a chance that Heineke's going to be a better option than your boy Fitzmagic anyway with Washington to win some games this season?
Why are you doing that to me, man?
I'm just asking the question. I'm asking. I know you love Fitzmagic.
I feel like you're acting like I agree with Kenny. Maybe now you're acting like a Richard. I don't need that.
Hey,
I played the fifth.
I'm throwing out topics and I'm poking bears here. This is what we do on sports radio. What do you got for me?
I love Fitzmagic, but no, Tyler Heinicke. You saw last year, and maybe a lot of it was there was no book on Tyler Heinicke when he played the Bucs in that playoff game. But in reality, he's a guy that can use his legs to get himself out of trouble, and he knows what he's doing, and he's protecting the football. And I do believe he has a chance to put this Washington team on their back. They've got some serious pieces on, like I said, on offense and on defense. So I absolutely think that they could. Like I have them in my pick'em pool winning tonight. I have them in my confidence pool with I guess Duke and Lee and Creech is now involved in that, and I've picked them with a pretty good percentage. I don't like what I see on the other side of the ball in the New York Giants and Danny Dimes, but I do like Tyler Heinicke. I really do think he's someone that can get in there and win you some games. He's a cowboy back there, Lloyd. He doesn't have a script. He's gonna do his own thing, and he has a good arm too. So I like his odds out there with Terry McLaurin and Diami Brown and some of these other guys like Antonio Gibson.
Okay, all right. But I got you to finally admit you're willing to, like, if Fitzmagic, if he was still with the Bucs, would you still want him to see some snaps instead of Tom?
No. Oh gosh, no. Not
okay.
a chance.
Right. Okay.
I appreciate
how far you're willing to go with this.
I appreciate and respect the beard of Fitzmagic and what he did, because when he was there, it was him or Famous Jameis, and Jameis Winston. He was a guy that I always wanted to believe and have faith in, and I always got my hopes up, and then he would just always crush my soul. I was on Offside with Eric Macramella last night, and we discussed Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints, and if they should sign him long-term, and if he's back now, and it's like, dude, Jameis Winston is a quarterback that has a lot of talent. He was a first overall draft pick. He was a national champion at Florida State. There was a reason he went first overall. He has a lot of talent. His problem is consistency and turning over the football. So as much as he destroyed the Packers last week with like 5 touchdown passes, should have been 4. There was a bogus roughing the passer call on him that negated an interception, then led to him throwing a touchdown the next play. I do believe that he is someone that is not a long-term starting quarterback that you can hitch your wagon to. I think he's a good backup. So when I had to deal with that, and Fitzmagic came in and won the Bucs their home opener against the Saints that year, I was like, I am in. This guy's got a beard. I went for him as Halloween that year because he put on Deshaun Jackson's leather coat and gold chains and sunglasses and came out and did the press conference, and he's just a character. And, I love when you see guys like that just constantly get signed because you know how good of a dude he is. So love me some Fitzmagic. He'll always have a spot in my heart, but I do believe Heinicke is the better option here for Washington. And just for yourself, are you, I don't know what's on your docket for tonight, if you're playing 3 hockey games tonight or maybe 2.
Oh, no, I'm going to be watching myself some foosball tonight, Bunda. I'm in, yep. No, divisional matchup. It's all good. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling it too, and I was about to look up the baseball schedule, and I don't know are the Jays in action tonight, or is tonight their night off?
Well, we haven't touched on the Jays yet, but we do know that they had the matinee win, and they won another series and defeated the Rays. It was 6-3. Yeah. Robbie Ray, just continues to roll right around. It's a good thing they did win because the Yankees. They beat the Orioles, and the Red Sox needed extra innings, and they beat the Seattle Mariners. So it's all still tied up.
Yeah, and no one's playing. Well, the Jays are not playing tonight, so you have, Lloydie, every chance to go in there and watch that.
Yankees at Baltimore at 5:05 this afternoon. So as you continue to keep an eye on that wild card race. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with more, and then we're going to really get into our interviews. First one's coming up at 11. Look forward to this with Cedric Andre, former Ottawa 67s goaltender, former Belleville Senators goaltender. Played a little bit with Belleville last season. Well, he's starting his pro career in earnest in the East Coast Hockey League. He is signed with the South Carolina Stingrays. So we're going to talk to Cedi about that coming up at 11 on In the Box on TSN 1200. All right, Cedric Andre is going to join us coming up in our next segment. James Boyd is the general manager of the Ottawa 67s. Pretty significant trade. One that we could kind of see coming, as James actually spoke that could be coming, and when he told us 3 weeks ago, I think, Kenny, when he was on with us. So ahead of that interview at noon here, why don't you just lay it out for people that aren't aware what the 67s did this morning with a player that, in all likelihood is not going to play in the Ontario Hockey League, and that's their first-round pick from last season.
Yeah, his name is Nick Moldenhauer, and 20th overall in 2020. And I believe that he would have strongly considered coming to the OHL, to the Ottawa 67s, had the season last year not been postponed, not been canceled eventually. I believe he would have ended up in the OHL. But instead, he went down to play in the States with, I believe, the North Jersey Avalanche, and then played 6 games with the Chicago Steel. I believe he got a taste for it and enjoyed it. And seeing what the Chicago Steel can do and have done, and they have another big name in Adam Fantilli, who is going to attract a lot of scouts. He's going to get a lot of eyes on him. So I don't blame Nick Moldenhauer for going that route. And then the 67s did what was best for them. They traded his rights to the Sarnia Sting in exchange for a 15th round draft pick. Last round in the draft. They also get 7 conditional draft picks that range anywhere from 2nd to 5th round picks. And I believe that they're all linked to if and when Moldenhauer comes to the OHL. So if he were to come this year, they'd get all those picks. If he were to come next year, they'd get a certain amount of those picks and so on and so forth throughout his OHL eligibility. If he doesn't come, they get the 15th round pick as well. This one is a guarantee. They get I believe it's the 21st pick overall in the 2022 OHL priority selection as a compensatory pick. So smart move by the Ottawa 67s. If he does come, they get compensated for it. If not, it's no skin off their teeth, and they get this 15th round pick as well as the compensation pick.
It is like when I read the release when it came down this morning, like we have seen so many of these kinds of trades, and it's not just the OHL, right? In major junior hockey, with the picks like going out year after year. Didn't they cap how many years you could trade picks out a couple of years ago, Kenny? Am I wrong on that?
That's correct. It's 5 years.
It is 5 years? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
It was those 7 years down the road that were killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's 5. Maybe they reduced it even further, but
yeah,
it was getting very ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Well, there was a time where you're basically trading draft picks for kids that are single-digit age right now.
That's 7-year-old.
Yeah, that's right. Looking at your 8-year-old that's still learning to play. It's like, you know what? You could have already been traded. You don't know it yet. You might be part of a deal in the Ontario Hockey League here. All right, so we'll talk to James Boyd more about that coming up at noon today, and sink our teeth into that just a little bit more here. Other things here. Sens Dev Camp is over. Sens Rookie Camp is in full swing. Troy Mann did address the media after day one, the on-ice session yesterday, and going through some of the the top prospects and his thoughts on where different guys are at. Curious to see if when they get going here today, what the line combinations will be. Is it going to be consistent with what they started with yesterday? And trying to get some chemistry, Bunda, because they got that game coming up against the Habs rookies on Saturday. Going to play them again on Monday. So if you missed it, this is what it looked like yesterday. Daou, Pinto, Yerventi, Sokolov, Cruikshank, Gregg, Reinhart, Kastelik, Latimer, Holscher, Allison, Wedman, and Ostapchuk was an extra forward. Thompson played with JBD, so a couple of first-round pick right-shot defensemen playing together. Roger and Gannett, Hollett, Bernard, Romeo, and then the goaltenders were Sogard, Marilyn, and Mandolese. Well, really, the top couple lines here. Shane Pinto, we keep saying everybody knows this. Out of everybody that has been at this dev camp and now at this rookie camp, if you had to pick one guy that really had the best chance to make the Ottawa Senators at the end of this process, coming up in early October, with the season starting in the second week of October, he's the guy. So he's going to play with Yerventi, it seems, here at the start of this camp, and possibly in the game on Saturday. And we touched on Yerventi a little bit yesterday. That's one of those intriguing prospects in that he's still fairly young. Like when they drafted him, he was He had just turned 18. He's an August birthday. So, and now he got a few games in Belleville, or with Belleville in Ottawa last season. And now it's his first full season playing in North America here. To me, that's one of the most intriguing prospects that I'm going to be interested in, as we're going to have our weekly chats with Troy Mann throughout the season to see what his progress is going to be like. Very high second-round pick. Like the fact the book on him, just natural goal scorer ability, and to see how well he can adjust here, Bunda, for playing the first season in North America, and they're sticking him with Shane Pinto right away.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so many of these players, you want to just see how many of them worked. You know, we heard from Sean Donovan and Jesse Winchester earlier this week, but these guys worked in the offseason, and a lot of some of these guys didn't even get to play last year. So where are you at in terms of being able to play game-wise come Saturday against the Habs, and what shape are you in? Right? How many of these guys were working in the gym, but also skating and keeping like their wind together and being able to get out there and play? So I want to see how all these guys, shape out. Shane Pinto is a guy that played some games with the Sens, but he played with North Dakota last year. How's his kind of off season? It was a bit shorter this year than normal for I guess that sake. But for him, where's he at after he's got some taste of the NHL? Because we saw, and we always talk about, it's good to get these guys, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, whatever, coming out of college, to then get to the NHL level, see where you're at, work out in the offseason, get to that point, and then how can you enter September and October into training camp that next year, or that next little bit after you had that taste of the NHL and that experience of the NHL. So seeing that, there's going to be a lot to lean on Shane Pinto for, and then you got that second line of Cruikshank, Gregg, and Sokolov that we talked about yesterday, Lloydie. That's going to be just an in-your-face, intense line with lots of skill, but some guys that love to get hard on the forecheck.
All right, so we'll get some more news trickling in from rookie camp later as the show rolls along here and they get onto the ice and have some availability. And Dean Brown is going to be there, and Dino's going to join us coming up at 1 as our Sens and NHL insider. And yes, just a reminder, we will have the game. Dean and Gord on TSN 1200, 4 o'clock with the Sens and the Habs. And also, the Sens are going to be broadcasting it on their YouTube channel and picking up the Dean and Gord call with that. So if you're not one of the lucky few, because you can only allow 1,000 in right now to be there and watch some hockey in person, the Sens will be they got you covered with the YouTube channel coming up here on the weekend as well. We'll continue the hockey talk in our next segment with from the ECHL variety and a little junior hockey, of course, and played in Belleville. Cedric Andre is going to join us coming up in our next segment. Wanted to squeeze this in just before Seti joins us, because we'll be full bore hockey after that for much of the show. But we didn't touch on this little NFL nugget here. And I'll ask you this way, Bunda. Did you reach out to any Cowboys fans to offer your condolences yesterday?
No.
With Lawrence being out now 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot, and he suffered it in practice. Did you do that, or did you hold off?
Yeah, I held off. It's an unfortunate injury, but such is life. And for Cowboys fans, when you're trying to gain some momentum, last year they dealt with so many injuries, mainly on the offensive line, but now to deal with DeMarcus Lawrence, one of their, I wouldn't even say better pass rushers. He's one of their better defensive players because he adds such a great element in stopping the run and just, collapsing the pocket. So that's unfortunate for them. We've already seen them lose, our guy, Ottawa guy, Neville Gallimore, for a little bit with an ankle injury, I believe. And I think he's out for at least 6 weeks. So to see them dealing with another injury, there was a suspension to one of their offensive linemen, the right tackles, La'el Collins as well. Mm-hmm. So after they've played the Bucs, it's like this team is beat up and now battered and dealing with suspensions, and now I think 2 or 3 multiple injuries here to some important players. Tough go for the Cowboys. I can only imagine how Lever Sage is feeling it today, and I'm sure I'll hear about it when he gets in. And I'm just going to say, look, you played the big boys, and look what happens.
Well, okay, all right. And on the offensive side of the ball, yeah, I knew you'd get that in. I teed you up, though. Michael Gallup on injured reserve with the calf injury as well. So injuries starting to pile up, unfortunately, for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll touch on this a little bit more later in the show when Brent Sobleski joins us from Bleacher Report ahead of the Thursday Nighter Speaking of the Cowboys in that division, Washington football team playing host to the New York Giants. We'll have it on TSN 1200 tonight. All right, we'll get to that aforementioned interview with Cedric Andre, the former Ottawa 67's keeper, and was with the Belleville Senators briefly last season. He is signed with the South Carolina Stingrays in the East Coast Hockey League. So we'll talk to Cedi coming up next on In the Box on TSN 1200.